Quick notice, if you have not watched the last video, part 1, please go do so right now, or this is going to make zero sense to you. This is, you're jumping in halfway through the dance and you don't know the moves. So go watch video 1. There'll be a link down there, but otherwise, you can just sit and look at my pretty face the whole video. I don't mind. Hi guys, welcome back to Mike and James Classic Games. I, of course, am Mike. Wanted to bring you to part 2 of this as we continue on. I had a lot of requests to keep going with this, and so we're going to. Quick recap of what we did on the last one. Up here, we set a title screen, set it to go from title screen to the main game when we hit fire here, and then when gameplay starts, it goes to our main background and then puts our players in position. Then of course we have player 0, which is Gary, and this is so he doesn't run into playfields, and this is if joysticks happen, it's going to change his speed. And same thing here with the Y. Remember, X is left and right, Y is up and down. And then of course we put down here that if the joystick is fired, it shoots a missile off, and if it collides with, if missile 0 collides with player 1, aka me, score will change by 1 and the missile will disappear. And then of course if the missile hits the playfield, it just disappears without scoring. That way it doesn't float off into eternity. What we're going to do on this one, and this is kind of my goal with some of these videos, is we're going to play around with building this game, but we're also going to focus on certain functions throughout certain parts. And we're going to start with this guy. This is the if-do. Now, there's been some people in the past I've talked to who have had problems with this in block coding, if-then statements. They're one of the most basic parts of basic programming. And to explain it, think of it this way. And what we can do, I'll show you something cool in a second here, but if and then. That is, if a certain function is happening, then do this. We can also say else. We can add that right here, if else. Now, as an example of what that might be, let's say if wife is asleep, do lots of video games. Else is if this condition is not met. So if wife is not asleep, else do the dishes or the lawn or something like that. And that's how those work. But in this case, we're just going to do an if-then statement, if-do statement. And what we're going to do is we're going to move me, player 1. We're going to move him back and forth across the top of the screen. And so what we need to do is we're going to use this, but we're also going to set a variable. We're going to create a variable called player 1 dir, or direction. Dir. And we're going to use this. So, and I'm going to refer to my notes back and forth here because I don't want to screw this up. Okay, so we have some pretty cool stuff we're going to do here. So we've got an if-do. Now we're going to use this guy, but we're also going to use this guy because if we're going to have him move to the left or the right, we're going to want a couple of conditions to be met. Because if we say, oh, just have him go off to the right until it's time to go for him to go to the left, he's just going to go to the right. So if two conditions are met, now I'm going to build this and then we'll kind of explain it. So we're going to use two of these as well. I'm going to put one here, and then we're going to put one here. So if this equals this, and if this equals this. So for the first one, if player 1 direction, and you guys will catch on to this, you'll follow along with this. If player 1 direction equals, now we're going to set it to left and right, but we're going to use 1 and 0. So if player one direction equals 1 and player one X position is less than 130, which is right to the right of the screen, that's our conditions. So if player one direction is 1 or right and player one's X position is less than 130, then what we're going to do is we are going to change his X position. Player one change X by 1. But we're going to add one other thing in here, because otherwise he's just going to go and go and go until he hits the right, and then nothing's going to happen. We need to set something to change his direction to left, or 0. So we're going to use another if-then statement. I'm going to put him right here. If player one's X, or X, oh, we need one of these. If player one's X position is greater than or equal to 130, let's just duplicate this. Then what we want to do is, so if it's gotten to greater than or over to 130, then we're going to have it change directions. So at that point, then we're going to set player one dir. Actually, we're not going to change. Let's throw that away. We're going to set player one dir, or player one direction, to 0 or left. So now it's saying he's going to take off to the right. If he's not already all the way to the right, he's going to take off to the right. Now once he hits the right, switch it to left. Now we need to do this over again. So what we can do is we just hit duplicate. Now we're going to leave this right here with us, and we're just going to change a couple of things. So if player one direction equals 0 and player one's X position is less than 20, which is all the way to the left, minus obviously the playfield, then we're going to have him change his position by -1. And then we're going to switch these conditions down here. So if player one's X position is now equal to or less than 20, which means if it's hit the left, then we're going to have it change player direction to 1. So quick recap. If player one's direction is right, or 1, and he's not already to the right, then let's move him to the right. And then when he hits all the way to the right, switch it to left. So now when he's moving left, if he's not already all the way to the left, then change his position by -1, and check and make sure if he has already greater to or less than, or equal to or less than 20, which is over here, then switch it to right. Now that should, in theory, do it. Yep. Sweet, look at that. Now, there's one thing I want to change in here, because that looks a little weird with him going through the background, doesn't it? So we're actually going to go into our background here, and we're going to take the eraser tool, and we're just going to get rid of that. Now what I'm going to do eventually is I'm going to have different obstacles in here for Gary to get around. But let's take a look at this again. Oh, it needs to refresh, I think. Yep. Look at that. Can I even hit him at this point? Have I made it too hard? Oh, no, I got him. 2. All right, sweet. Now, what we can actually do, if we wanted to take this to the next level and play around with this a little bit, let's come all the way down here. Here's this section. Oh, I hope we get labels soon. Let's just, for giggles, let's be cheeky and switch it to 2. Let's see what happens. Oh, yeah, he's hauling butt now. I am so awesome. Look at me go. Ooh. Oh, Gary already hit me. But see, we can also kind of adjust that a little bit and play around with that by missile position. Here's where we fire that missile. We can go in here, we can change the settings of how fast that's going to go and how far it's going to go and how quickly it's going to go there. So there's all kinds of factors we can play with, and it's fun to just go in and tweak some of these settings and just see what happens. That's the best way to learn this, is just mess around, have some fun, Bob Ross it to death. And unfortunately in coding, accidents are accidents, happy or not, they're probably going to muck up your code pretty good. But so that is a really good kind of help with how the if-then statements work. So let's take a quick look here. Yeah. Cool. Now, for the moment, the other thing I'm going to do is we're going to go in here, we're going to add a couple of obstacles. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come back into our actions, and what we're going to do is we're going to come to this section here where it says, hey, we hit him. Missile set. Missile goes away. So this is where if missile 0 collides with player 1, score changed by 1, get rid of the missile. What would be fun is, let's go into the player 0, set his X, which is the left and right, to what was it, 60? I think it's roughly halfway. And then let's change his Y, or not change his Y. Let's set his Y to, let's see, what was it up here when we created him? 80. Sick. Now, let's have a Jeopardy moment here and see if you can tell what this is going to do. So this happens when missile 0 and player 1 collide and the score goes up by 1. The missile goes away. What's this going to do? So what this is actually going to do is this is going to take player 0, Gary, it's going to put him back. So rather than just sitting there and spam clicking and falling around, anytime he hits him, he's going to go back to the start position. Let's check it out. Well, it's not quite the start position, but it's close enough. We can adjust that a little bit. X position, let's say 70. And yes, I can go in and do math and find out what it's supposed to be, but I don't feel like doing math right now. I'm doing enough math with this. So, yeah, I mean, so how cool is that? So this is kind of the fun. It's just going in and playing with what happens when you play around with different things, when you switch different stuff. But this is a pretty good idea here. Here's the other thing I'm thinking. There's not really a lot of danger to Gary at this point. So here's what I think we should do. We're going to do a new section. And my plan is this. What I would like to do is he's going to go back, Mike's going to go back and forth across the top. And he's going to plant down. He's going to plant down. That's probably James back behind me dancing around, jerk. Okay, so we're going to have him occasionally drop a bomb down on Gary. Now, how we're going to do that? First thing we need to do is we're going to set another variable, and it is called player one fire. So that's what we're going to need. And what we're going to do is we're going to come down here and we're going to do a set player one fire 2. And rather than putting a number in there, we're going to put a random number. So there's probably a more efficient way to do this. There's probably an easier way to do this. I don't care. This is just us playing around. We're having fun. So he's going to go back and forth, and now there's going to be a player one fire, which we still have to build all this. But now it's set to a random number. So what we're now going to do is we're going to set a condition saying if a random number is, if the player one fire random number is whatever, let's have him drop a bomb. So let's set that up. And again, I'm going to refer back to my notes because I'm not that smart. So what we're going to do, first section, player one fire, if, now let's grab another one of our equals here, if this equals that or that equals this, and if player one fire, and we're going to say is less than out of 255, and this is every frame, mind you. So we're going to say less than, and I played around with this a little bit. Here's what I found to be the best: 3. If player one fire is less than 3, then what we're going to do is we're actually going to come borrow from the examples. This is the player one shoot missile code. We're going to steal it, and we're going to play around. In fact, what we can do, now that I'm thinking about this, so we're going to take this, separate that out. I'm going to put that there, and rather than the if joystick fire, we're going to take that. Look at that. How sweet is that? Now, don't forget to take your excess blocks of code and get rid of them. Otherwise, all kinds of havoc's going to play. Now, let's see. Oh, there's a couple of things I want to change to. Otherwise, it's going to look like he's going to drop a brick. So I'm going to set player missile one height to 1. And then we're also going to come in here to sprites, to player one missile, and we're going to set, where is it? Set missile one, that's player. Missile one set width to let's say 2 pixels. I like that. Okay. Now that should have some results. Yep. Look at that. He is randomly firing. But of course, as we had before, it's just going through everything. So let's set up a couple of conditions. And we'll set them right down here. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to be smart again, because we're smart little cookies, all of us. Let's duplicate this. Bring it down to just under this. So if missile 1 and player 0 collide, we're going to take out the score for the moment. We're just going to take it out because there's a bug in there that I'm working on. So let's delete that block. And we're, of course, going to need to switch all this anyway, so I don't know why I was trying to be so clever there. We got to do it all over again anyway. If missile 1 and player 0 collide, what should we have happen? You know what? We're going to change things a little bit. So if missile 1, I need to figure the rest of this out. So if missile 1 and the playfield collide, let's duplicate this one just because I'm stealing it. And I need to look at what needs to be there. Oh, well, you're just copying code. You know what? There's no problem with that. Okay, so if missile 1 and playfield collide, then missile 1, set missile 1 X to 0. Set missile 1 Y to 0. And missile 1 Y change by 0, which means it's not going to move. Okay, now we can get rid of you. Thank you. Actually, you know what? Let's use him. Okay, so him we are going to get rid of. I hit duplicate instead of delete, I think. No worries. Delete 8 blocks. So if collided, missile 1 and player 1, then let's do the same thing we were doing up here. If he hits you, see, where did I put that? It'd be nice, Geraldo, if you're listening to this, what would be super sweet down the road is if there it is if we could zoom out a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate him just so I have a reference. And we're going to duplicate him so I have a reference. So for now, what's going to happen is if he collides with player 1, if missile 1 and player 0 collide, then Gary is going to set back there. Now, the reason I don't have it say minus the score yet is there is a bug that doesn't like it when you do -1s in score setting right now. It kind of freaks out. It goes and takes a nap in the corner. Real men drink from jars. But so we're not going to do that, but I have an idea on how to do that that we'll do on one of the next videos when we cover a lot of math. But for now, he's just going to go back down here. Let's take a look. Cool. I've got one. Hit me! Yeah, now I go back down there. So we have added a lot of cool stuff to the game already, just in this last little bit. The plans for the next one, I think, is we're going to have some kind of better scoring system. And I have a clever idea for something that's not really built into this engine yet, and that is a life system. I have kind of a cute idea for this. It might work, it might not, but we're going to find out later. Here's kind of my thinking, and you guys can tell me if I'm crazy or not. We're going to shrink the playfield by 1. And then up here, like let's say this line right here. In fact, I'm going to go over to backgrounds and let's take a look just as a theory. What if we were to put this here? And we're not going to do this all tonight. I just want your theories here. And then if you get it to work, you can let me know. And then we'll have life 1, life 2, and life 3. We'll have a life counter variable, obviously, but that'll be up there. And then we can duplicate this into background 2, background 3, or background life -1, background life -2. And then the game will continue, but it will just change the background so that one of these is now missing. And when then that's all gone, it switches to game over. I don't know. I could be crazy. What do you guys think? Do you think that's going to work? We're not going to play with it tonight because I'm almost out of time for the night. But that's one of my crazy ideas I've got so far. But let's take one last quick look at what we did here today. Right, so this is all the stuff from the last time. Over here, we've made Mike go left and right. Now, we've set it up over... Where on earth did I set that up? Oh, yeah. It's down here somewhere. So we have player 1 firing, which is Mike up here. A random number is set, and then when it hits below this, he's going to drop a deuce down on Gary. And then, of course, the deuce, if it hits the playfield, goes away. And then if the deuce hits you, Gary, then Gary goes back to his main position. Then over here, we've got the scoring for over there that we had done the other time. So I think we've got some cool stuff going on here. See, I've jacked him up a little bit there, but I think potentially that life system could work. Because, and the other reason I think it might work is when we're finished up with this game, if we take our generated code, we can go dump this code out into something like I was showing you, like 8-Bit Workshop. And we can come in here with our playfield and we can actually set a different color for individual rows. So I could set these to like red up here, so it would look different than the white of the rest of these. So it's something we can play with, but I don't want to do any of that totally yet as far as changing the colors and stuff until we've got this working out okay. So it's a rudimentary jack-wired together life system that we'll work on next time. If you guys have questions as to stuff you saw here or stuff that you'd like to cover in some of the other ones, because eventually what I'd like to do is, as we build this, is go through all these different functions, what to use them for, how to use them, and why we would want to use them. Let me know, because I want to do a handful of these. You guys seem to be enjoying them. No more comments about, Mike, why is your face on the screen? Well, because that's how YouTubers do it, isn't it? Besides, if I have my face on the screen, then I can enjoy as my viewers watch upon me with a mixture of awe, envy, and lust. So, thank you for joining me on this one. I hope to see you soon on the next one. Again, leave me some comments and subscribe, please. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We're at 277. By the way, quick thank you to everybody. 1 week ago, we hit 250. You guys saw our little plaque that I made. 1 week ago we were at 250. We're at 277 1 week later. It's the largest jump I've ever had in the channel. Yeah, it's only 27 views, and if you're the Game Grumps or something like that, sweet, that's a drop in the bucket. But I'm just a new little, not that new. I'm just a simple little channel, and I love the subscriptions. It just makes me want to do more. So share this around, comment, like, and please subscribe. It gives me motivation. But again, thank you, and we will see you guys next time.